study called Struggle and Strength, Cultivating Intentional Friendships. My name is Pastor Jessica, and I'm here with the ever lovely Shannon, and she's joining us for Lesson 2. And the title of this lesson is called Finding Safe Friends. But before we dive in deep, we want to just do a brief recap of our previous lesson. So hopefully you had an opportunity to go online and watch the study. And we really dived deep into the subject of what does it mean to actually discover friendships. And we used our first Proverbs and we broke down what does it mean to refresh others? How can we actually be a friend that refreshes others? You know, we don't use the word refresh a lot in our friendships, but when you're studying the Word of God, it breaks it down into two very powerful principles. The first one was gracious words, and the second one was generous hands. And I loved the fact that we were able to discuss that, dialogue around it, and even challenge ourselves to grow in our friendships around us. So hopefully you are engaging. There's always more time to jump in. So don't let the fact that you might be jumping in this week to determine the fact that you can go back, watch all the videos, download the information, discover the challenges and how God can grow you as an incredible, refreshing friend. So let's talk about week 2, lesson 2, and this is finding safe friends. And Shannon, I love this lesson, and the reason why I love this lesson is because I really believe as a culture and as a generation, the thing is that we don't lack options of people to be in relationships with. I think we have to understand who we choose to cultivate intentional friends with. So tell me a little bit about your journey in discovering and finding safe friends.
Yeah, so my journey has been kind of up and down. I moved around quite a bit and was really looking for the connections that I had with high school best friends, college best friends, and I realized that I was not connecting with people and I couldn't figure out why. And it was because I really wasn't taking the time and making the attention to get to know people.
Yeah, and I think that's a big struggle for most people as we grow into seasons, and then realizing who are the right people that we need to connect with and go to that next level. And I want to make sure all the lovelies know out there that when we are talking about discovering safe friends, that we are not talking about the fact that you can't hang out or engage or converse with multiple groups of people. Having lots of spheres of social connections, it's a really wonderful thing that God has given to us. Maybe it's people at work, maybe it's friends at home, maybe it's family. But when we are talking about safe friends, we're going to go layers deep. Because there's something about the safety of relationships and in the intimacy of connection that we have to be able to discover and determine for ourselves. And a lot of times we discover that based off of a few bumps and bruises along the way. And I think there's a little bit of an equation and an understanding to it all as well. You know, just about how much time it takes to actually cultivate safe friends.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, for a lot of people, we think that these friendships happen overnight, but really, I'm pretty sure the only time you can go from stranger to best friend in 5 seconds is when you're in kindergarten. That just doesn't happen.
Time.
It doesn't happen. But typically, it takes about 50 hours to go from stranger to friend, and you have to really spend almost 200 intentional hours with someone to go from friend to close friend. So we're talking making time and seeing them over and over again and making those moments mean something and we learn something about people. That's how we form those connections.
Yeah, and that is so true. And the key word there is time. And I think time will expose all things to us. It will expose things about ourselves too. Because here's the thing that we have to remember, and I'm so big on here at Girl Gang, is that long before we can ever expect something from somebody else, we have to be willing to expect it from ourselves first. That's why when we talked in lesson 1 about refreshing others, the goal was to ask ourselves first, are we refreshing other people? So let's take that concept now and carry it into lesson 2 when it comes to how are we discovering safe friends? Are we a safe person as well? So let's talk about the verse from Proverbs that we are going to dissect, dialogue, and really uncover for you. And the verse is Proverbs 12:26, and this is what it says. The righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. Now, if you are just starting to read the Bible or study the Bible, or maybe you're like, what in the world is the Bible? Do not worry. We're going to go layers deep that really helps us understand in a very practical term, because the one thing I love most about the Bible is that when you take these big words where it says the righteous, what does that even mean? Or the way of the wicked leads them astray. What does that even mean? Let's break it out into very biblical perspectives, but in a practical way. And the first point in what I want to talk about is the word righteous, because we got to understand, what does that mean for us? As friends, if we are going to choose safe friends, we need to understand what it means to be going on inside of us first, to be able to discover and say, you know what? These are wonderful people. I love hanging out with them. I love catching up with them. I don't know if they're the safe person for my journey. And that's okay to say that to yourself. Now listen, I don't think any of us should ever declare, you're not safe, and you're not safe, and you're not safe. Like, let's be careful of accusing and pointing maybe flaws out from people. The key goal is that this is a process of study and reflection for us and how we cultivate intentional friendships. So the word righteous, it really means someone who is in right standing with their conduct and character. Now, right standing, okay, when you think of the word right standing or that phrase right standing, what do you think about when you think about something like that?
I think of someone whose heart is in the right place,
Yes.
who's really spirit-led, who knows, right from wrong, and who has my intentions at heart, or who is really thinking of others before they think of themselves.
And that's a really good perspective, because right standing means you're not perfect. It means there's progress in place and that you're willing to be in right standing, which means if there's things going on inside of your life, welcome to it. All of us are there. All of us are in this journey, a little messy, a little broken, in need of such grace every step of the way. The goal is that we are continually looking at our life and saying, am I in right standing in my conduct and my character? Now, character speaks of everything that's going on inside of us. It's that inward voice that tells us what types of decisions we need to make on a regular basis. Conduct is really, in essence, the choices that we make. What type of decisions are you making in your life? That's the righteous person. Now, let's go to the next one. Is cautious or carefully? Determining the version that you might be reading in the Bible, you could see the word cautious or carefully. Here's what I love about this, Shannon, is that actually means to search out, to explore, or to spy out.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a little like, woo, like a little undercover, covert, all of the above. So when I read that verse, that was a very powerful moment for me, because I realized that as we are growing as individuals and remaining in this continual progress before the Lord with our relationship and with one another, that it's okay to search out, explore, and spy out the right people in our journey.
Yeah, because not everyone that comes into our lives is going to be fit to stay there. It's the people that we take time to intentionally get to know, give our hearts to, the ones that earn it. Yes. Those are the ones that are going to be fit to stay in your life.
That's right. And it means that it's okay to build a relationship and friendship with people, but realizing that they might not be the safest person for certain aspects of your life is okay. And the only reason why you might say that regarding that individual is because in their life, maybe that's something that they're just not ready to handle, that part of your story. And I've had to learn that in many spheres of my life. Maybe you have too, where my phrase that I love is authentic with everyone, transparent with a few, because I love to be able to connect with people on so many levels. I love being a safe person for other people. However, I've realized that some people are not always going to be safe for me in every aspect of my journey. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with what and who they are as an individual. It just means for me, cultivating, right? That's our theme, intentional friendships, is so key. What about you? Have you ever struggled with maybe that cautious or that careful, or what they're calling to search out, to explore, to spy out an individual that you've realized, okay, I haven't done due diligence with this individual quite yet?
Yeah, I think there have definitely been times where I have given a little bit more of myself to someone that's just not in a place to give back to me. She or he didn't give the generous words, the gracious words, generous hands. And so I kind of had to backtrack a little bit. And it's tough because a lot of the times we'll be quick to take offense, thinking that it's something that we did, but really that's not the case.
Yeah, and it's true. A lot of times, in order to search out, to explore, or to even spy out, a really great question to ask yourself when you're discovering safe friends is, how do these individuals handle me at my worst? It's a huge indication of what's going on inside of them, but also if this is the person to really carry with you through every season and journey of life. When we are at our lowest points, we need the right people to say and do the right things. We need people who can be our strength, who can continue to point us in the right direction. The second part of that verse I want to talk about, Shannon, is, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. So we just got done talking about how a righteous person who's in right standing, how they choose their friends. They search out, they explore, they spy out. So now let's talk about when we choose an unsafe friend and how the Bible describes them as a wicked individual. Now, don't let that word wicked scare you, because if you go a little bit deeper, I'm going to break it down into two parts. The first one is but the way. And that phrase, but the way, it really describes the journey, the path, the habits, the course of their life. So when you're looking at an unsafe person, you want to look at the course of their life. You want to look at their habits. You want to look at their character and their choices. When you are spying out safe friends, you have to look at the person's life and the choices that they're making in most areas of their life. It doesn't mean perfection. It means that when you look at the course of their life, you can say that is a person where our paths can line up together. It doesn't mean our purposes are the same. It doesn't mean our callings are the same, or maybe our jobs or our spouses or our social circles are the same. It just means the path of their life, their character and their choices line up. And then when we break it down to leads them astray, this is my most favorite part about this, because we have to look at what Proverbs is saying when it says the wicked can lead us astray. Unsafe people will take us off of our journey. They will lead us astray, and they lead us astray in two areas, Shannon. The first one is morally. And the way they lead us off the path morally is based off of the internal belief and actions based on what is right and wrong. We have to look at somebody's life and say, you know what, those people, that person knows how to make a decision based off of what is right and based off of what is wrong. It's character. The second aspect of how they lead us off of the path is ethically. And that is the external beliefs and actions based off of social or cultural norms. Both of those areas, morality and ethics, have to do with character. So when you are looking at somebody's life, Shannon, it is okay for us to look at the character of the individual on a moral aspect and on an ethics aspect. And that's something that's so important for us to really consider. Now, there's 2 points I want to summarize when it comes to unsafe and safe friends. You know, as a pastor in a church, as a pastor over a girl gang, when I look at people and finding safe friends, it's important for me to discover and understand where are they at in their life, and realizing if there's a lifestyle that they're choosing that might not be the same path that I'm on. Not saying they have to be only pastors to be friends. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But looking at a safe friend who can really, I can divulge deep layers of things in my life. It's really important to know where are they at in their path of life. Have you ever connected with somebody that you've realized they're here, I'm here, I don't know if this is a good fit right now in this journey?
Absolutely. I think we can all relate to that.
Yeah.
And if you read the email from the lesson 1, we talked about 5 people that are close to you in your life. And I think when you look at and think about the 5 people that you spend the most time with, your 5 friends, it really gives you an average of who you are. So if you're kind of looking and saying like, I'm not too sure, she gossips a lot, she didn't come through in this moment. When you're looking at those things, you have to know that their qualities are kind of may rub off on you. And so it's super important to know who we're surrounding ourselves with, because ultimately that's going to determine the quality of our lives and those friendships.
Absolutely. And I want to be careful here with this subject. And here's what I want to say to everybody that's watching this. If you are in a friendship that you have had an incredible relationship and journey with, ups and downs, ins and outs, all of the above, and you've grown together, you've had your moments of conflict, you've had your moments where issues have arisen, that a safe friend doesn't mean you're not going to have conflict and offense, because we choose how we're going to be offended with a situation and how we handle those situations. And we also choose how we're going to resolve conflict. That's another lesson for another day. But I want to let you know that if you are in a relationship where there's conflict or possibly a misunderstanding, it doesn't mean you're not safe, and it doesn't mean that friend's not safe either. So I want to make sure we understand the difference between possibly a little hiccup and a safe friendship that we're learning, but how we are choosing safe friends. So this brings us to our 2 landing points for this lesson. We want to uncover and talk about unsafe and safe friends. So now that we know what the Proverbs has to say, now that we understand what the Proverbs really means for us in practical terms, what does that mean for this lesson? And the first one is this: unsafe friends will cause you to wander and drift from your journey. They will literally lead you astray from the journey that you are on. If you are on a path where you are trying to cultivate a stronger relationship with the Lord, and the current friends in your life are constantly trying to take you off, you might have unsafe friends. It's fair enough to really ask yourself that question. If you're trying to strengthen your marriage and the friends that you have are trying to encourage you to do things that actually harm your marriage, you might have unsafe friends. So we have to be able to categorize that in the sense that this is the path that I'm on. And these are the people that I know are safe in this journey. Have you ever been in a relationship or a friendship where you've realized this person is trying to take you off the path that God has for you?
For sure. I think we all have had those experiences too. They just feel icky.
Yeah.
They drain you mentally, emotionally, spiritually. They cultivate shame, not significance. And I think when we meet people that are quick to gossip, quick to judge, and that hold unforgiveness, those just feel icky, and that's not what God wants for us.
No, it's not. And it's really wonderful that you can simplify that there's this ickiness. It's almost like you walk away from a friendship feeling, like what just happened, or what did I just participate in, or that didn't strengthen anything that God is doing in my life, nor did it strengthen them. That's the thing we have to remember. The second point is this. Then let's talk about a safe friend. So we already talked about unsafe. Now, safety or a safe friend. A safe friend or safe friends will protect your journey, keep you on your journey, and cheer you on with your journey. And so think about the terms that we talked about. If you are in this path where you are constantly focusing on your relationship with the Lord, you need people around you who are going to say, Shannon, that's not what God says in His Word about you. Why are you even engaging in that type of conversation? Or why are you making that choice for your life? God's got something better for you. That's a safe friend. That's somebody who's going to say to you, you know what, Shannon? It's okay that you might struggle in this area, but I'm going to point you to Jesus. That's a safe friend. That's somebody who's going to say, I love you at your worst, and I'm going to protect that moment, but I'm going to cheer you on so you can become your best before the Lord. Or maybe, again, with your relationship with your spouse, you're struggling. You can have people that can say to you, I'm here for you. I'm going to love you no matter what. I'm going to encourage you through this. There's help. There's resources. Let's do everything possible we can to make sure you are on this journey and that you are getting to where you know you need to get to. That is safe friends. It almost becomes about the other person versus becoming about who they are.
Absolutely. And, these safe friendships are rooted in mutual trust and respect. That is the key. Not everybody's going to get to know your story, and the ones that are safe are going to protect it, like you're saying. They're going to encourage you. They're going to push you to the way that Jesus would have you go. And true connection takes intentional time and energy to pour into another person. When our friendships are truly safe, the dynamic goes from one of uncertainty to one covered in layer upon layer of grace. And that's what we need from our safe friends, is just grace.
And that is so true. None of us are beyond the grace that we so desperately need. We need to be able to give it and receive it. So Shannon, speaking of selectivity, there's some powerful things that Jesus really exemplified for us in the Bible and with his disciples and the ministry that he had to thousands. And I really believe there's a correlation there between that and safe and unsafe friendships. Can you share a little bit about what you've learned and are studying and walked through on that?
Yeah, just a friend of mine actually told me Jesus was loved by thousands. He was followed by many, but he was truly known by few. And so to me, that teaches me that it is okay to be selective with who we choose to put in our inner circle. He had people that knew what he was doing, people that wanted to know him, but only a few of them really knew why he was doing what he was doing.
It's powerful. It's really wonderful. I think about the friends that were super close to him, that were disciples as well. And Peter, James, and John, those are the ones that we see and we hear and we read a lot in the Bible, even though he had his 12. And the thing is that Jesus poured into the 12 very, very equally. However, there was that connection and that intimacy that he had with Peter, James, and John. And it was almost like they were the ones that he included in his inner circle to be able to really speak into, and they spoke into his life. Yes, it could have been a little tumultuous. We read about the Peter and Jesus relationship. I love their relationship because it was kind of like Peter was always just foaming at the mouth, word vomit all the time, and Jesus was like, stop talking. You know what I'm saying? In a roundabout way, he was just like, okay, that doesn't matter. Those things aren't important. And selectivity is a good thing. And I think we can't confuse selectivity with exclusivity. And it's okay to be selective, like we talked about, to explore, to spy out, to search out the right ones in our world. And it's still okay to minister and connect with and hang out with those people. But the ones that are going to keep us on our journey, that are going to cheer us on our journey. And how about you? Are you a safe friend? Are you the type of person that cheers people on their journey, that communicates to them, hey, this is where God has you. This is where he wants you. This is where you need to be. It's a really powerful principle when we can dissect safe and unsafe friends. And again, our verse is Proverbs 12:26. The righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. And it takes faith and extreme vulnerability to really be authentic around those that we're cultivating intentional friends. And I want to encourage you to stay on that journey. Are we going to be perfect? No. Do we need to keep trying? Absolutely. Will we discover safe friends? 100%. I guarantee you, if you stay at it, stay in it, and you really take these principles to heart, God is going to meet your need, and he's going to bring some of the most amazing lovelies in your sphere. And maybe for you, God is asking of you to become a safer friend in the journey with people, to become a place and a person for others where you continually say, is my friend on this journey, and how can I help her stay on that path and become all that God has created her to be and meant for her to be. Now listen, the real work begins with our Struggle and Strength Challenge. And I want to again summarize the 3 things that we ask of you guys. And the first one is this: answer the questions honestly and with vulnerability. So at the end of this lesson, you're going to see on the video where we upload a document for you to ask yourself questions. And we want you to answer them. You can write them out, you can journal them, you can discuss them with a friend via text, on Facebook, or with your pop-up group that's happening this month. The second thing is this: ask God to show you whether certain friends in your life might need to be cultivated or if they need to be cut off. That's a hard one, Shannon. That's a big one. And use wisdom and discernment with that. If you ever need advice, godly advice, on whether you need to cultivate or cut off a friendship, go to somebody that you admire and respect based off of, right, what we talked about, their righteous living, their path, their habits, their life that you admire, or the friendships that they have. Ask them about that friendship. And the third thing is this: accept responsibility for becoming a safe friend for someone and make space to be intentional with them. You know, Shannon, when we look at safe versus unsafe, it's very easy then to look at the selectivity of who's in our circle and the right people, and we then can be intentional about who those friends are. Shannon, thank you so much for joining me today for this lesson. Is there anything else that you want to share from your heart or say or mention?
I just think, who we let close to our hearts should be considered with extreme caution.
Yeah.
Jesus had a lot of people that wanted to be his friend, but he was selective, and we're allowed to be too. Not everyone was given the incredible access to Jesus, and not everyone should be given the incredible access to you.
It's amazing. And thank you so much for being here. And lovelies, we are so proud of you. Continue to dig deep. We will see you next week for our lesson 3.